It was a quiet night when the doorbell rang, breaking the stillness. I opened the door, expecting nothing more than a late-night visitor, but standing there was a woman, tall, with pale skin that seemed to shimmer faintly under the moonlight. Her eyes were the strangest shade of violet, almost glowing in the dark. Her face was etched with sadness, but there was something else, an undeniable sense of urgency. She didn't speak right away. Instead, she simply stood there, her gaze locked on mine, as if she was studying me, sizing me up. I was about to speak when she whispered softly, "My children need a human father." The words made no sense. Why would an alien need a human father for her children? I tried to ask her what she meant, but she shook her head, her expression unreadable. Without waiting for me to respond, she stepped past me and entered my home. I stood frozen, watching her walk in, her violet eyes never leaving mine. There was something unsettling about the way she moved, like she already knew what was going to happen. As the door closed behind her, I felt a cold shiver run down my spine. What had I just agreed to? The tension in the room grew heavier with each passing second, and I couldn't shake the feeling that my life had just changed in ways I couldn't yet understand. She moved further into the house, her every step graceful, yet there was an intensity to her presence that made the room feel smaller. I couldn't bring myself to speak, unsure of what to say. Her eyes never left me, and with each glance, it felt like she was searching for something deep inside me. Finally, she broke the silence. "I know this is strange," she said, her voice soft but steady, "but you're the only one who can help." I didn't know how to respond. What could I say? Help with what? I managed to ask, though I could already sense the weight of her answer before she even spoke. "My people are dying," she continued. "We've lost everything. Our home, our way of life. I am one of the last of my kind, and my children. They have no future unless you help them." She paused, and her gaze softened, almost pleading. "I know this isn't what you expected when you woke up tonight, but you're the only hope we have." Her words hung in the air, and for the first time, I noticed the faint tremor in her voice. She wasn't just asking for help. She was begging. I looked at her, then at the empty space between us. Why me? Why a human? I didn't understand, and yet something in her eyes told me there was no turning back. I felt a strange pull, like I had to know more. "What do you need from me?" I asked, bracing myself for the answer. She took a deep breath, as if steeling herself for something difficult. "My children," she began, her voice tinged with both fear and hope, "are the last of my people. They are fragile, weakened by the wars we fought, and the disease that has ravaged our world. They need protection. They need a future. They need a father." I stared at her, the weight of her words slowly sinking in. The idea was impossible to grasp. An alien standing in my living room, asking me to become the father of her children. But there was no doubt in her eyes. She wasn't lying. She wasn't asking for a favor. She was making a desperate plea. She led me into another room, and there they were, 3 young children, their faces a mix of curiosity and caution. They looked human, but not quite. Their skin was pale, their eyes large and dark, almost black in the dim light. But it wasn't their appearance that struck me. It was the silence. They didn't speak. They didn't move. They simply watched me with the same intensity their mother had. They were waiting for something. "They're not like us," she explained, her voice softening. "They can't survive in a world like ours. But if they're to have any chance, they need to learn. They need strength. And they need someone who can teach them how to live, to fight, to survive." Her gaze turned to me, her eyes pleading once again. "I can't do it alone. Please, you're the only one who can help them." I didn't know what to say. How could I become their father? How could I help them survive in a world that wasn't my own? But when I looked at the children, I saw something in their eyes, something that told me they had already given up on everyone else, and that perhaps I was their last hope. The room felt colder now, and the weight of the situation pressed down on me like an invisible force. I stood there, watching the children, their eyes unblinking, as if waiting for me to make a decision. The silence between us was thick, but the alien woman's words echoed in my mind. They need a father. I turned to her, trying to make sense of what was happening. But I'm just a human. What can I teach them? What can I do that you can't? My voice wavered, and I could hear the doubt creeping in. This wasn't just about being a father. This was about saving lives, about something much bigger than I could comprehend. Her expression softened, and she stepped closer, lowering her voice. You don't understand yet. It's not about what you can teach them. It's about what you are, what humanity represents. She paused, her gaze distant, as if recalling something painful. Our species, we'd forgotten what it means to fight for survival. We've become weak. But you, humans, are different. You survive against all odds. You adapt. You're relentless. Her words lingered in the air, and I felt something stirring inside me. She was right, in a way. Humanity had faced destruction, war, and countless challenges, and yet we were still here. But this was different. These children weren't just survivors. They were the future of an entire species, and I wasn't sure if I was the right person to carry that burden. They'll never learn the ways of your people, I said, shaking my head. But I can try. I can teach them what I know. Her eyes softened with a mix of relief and sorrow. It's not just about teaching them survival. It's about showing them that there's more to life than just surviving. That they have a purpose. She took a deep breath. That they have a future. The decision hung heavy in the air. But looking at her, at the children, I realized I had no choice. I couldn't turn my back on them. If they were going to have any hope, I had to try, no matter the cost. I made my decision. I'll help you. I'll help them. Days turned into weeks, and the life I knew began to blur. The children, there were 3 of them, had started to grow attached to me in their own quiet way. Each day, I tried to teach them something new. How to hold a weapon, how to defend themselves, how to survive in a world that didn't care about their existence. They didn't speak much, but I could see it in their eyes, the hunger for knowledge, the need to understand a world they had never known. The alien woman, who had introduced herself as Elara, watched from a distance, always silent, always calculating. She never asked me how things were going, but her gaze never left the children. She was teaching them too, teaching them about their own people, about their history, and about what they would need to survive. But there was always a sense of urgency in her eyes, a fear that no matter what we did, it might not be enough. One evening, as I was working with the youngest child, who was just beginning to understand basic combat, I noticed Elara standing by the window, her face grave. "What's wrong?" I asked, stepping closer. "They're coming," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "The hunters. They've found us." I felt a cold shiver run down my spine. "Hunters? Who are they?" She turned to me, her violet eyes sharp. "They are the last of my people, the ones who survived the war. They don't want to rebuild. They just want to survive by any means necessary. And they will stop at nothing to take my children." I could feel the weight of her words settle over me like a heavy cloak. The stakes had just risen. It wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about protection. I had promised to teach these children how to live, but now I had to show them how to fight. I turned to the children, who were watching us from across the room. Their faces were calm, but I could see the worry in their eyes. They knew what was coming, even if they didn't fully understand it. And in that moment, I realized they had already become my responsibility. I wasn't just their teacher. I wasn't just their protector. I was their father. And no matter what happened, I wasn't going to let anyone take them from me. She nodded, and a faint smile crossed her lips. But there was something else in her eyes, something I couldn't quite place. A fear, maybe, or a warning. But for now, I pushed it aside. There was no going back. The days that followed were filled with tension. We fortified the house as best we could, setting up traps and weapons where we could hide them, but it didn't feel like enough. Elara was on edge, constantly scanning the horizon, as if she could sense the approaching threat even before they arrived. The children, despite their quiet nature, were learning quickly, picking up the skills I had taught them. But there was an unease that lingered in the air. They could feel it too. One night, I woke to the sound of distant footsteps. The house was quiet, but something in the air felt wrong. I glanced at the children, who were still asleep, and then at Elara. She was standing by the window again, her violet eyes searching the darkness outside. I didn't have to ask. I knew they were close. "They're here," she whispered, her voice tense. "Get the children. We have to move now." I didn't hesitate. I rushed to the children's room and gently shook them awake, trying to be as quiet as possible. "Wake up," I whispered urgently. "We need to go. Now." The youngest one stirred, blinking in confusion, but the other two were already alert, their eyes wide with understanding. They didn't need to be told twice. They knew what was at stake. We moved swiftly through the house, trying to avoid making any noise. Elara led the way, her movements swift and practiced, as though she had done this countless times before. I stayed close behind, keeping a hand on the children's shoulders to guide them through the darkened halls. A house which had once felt like a sanctuary now felt like a trap. We made it to the back door when I heard it, the unmistakable sound of heavy boots crunching on the gravel outside. My heart raced. They were here, the hunters. Elara turned to me, her face grim but resolute. "We have to fight. This is the only chance we have." I nodded, my heart pounding in my chest. I wasn't ready for this. I wasn't ready to protect them from what was coming. But there was no choice now. They were my responsibility, and I would do whatever it took to keep them safe. We stepped outside, into the cold night air, and I felt a surge of adrenaline rush through me. This wasn't just about survival anymore. This was a battle, and we would fight together. No matter what happened, we wouldn't go down without a fight. I would protect these children. I would protect my family. And I would make sure the hunters never took them from me.